everybody, this is Brad from Johnson Small Engines, better known as the One-Hand Mechanic. If I can do it, you can too. Today we have here a yard machine, 10 and a half horsepower, 28-inch path, 2-stage self-propelled snow thrower. And today I'm going to, in my opinion, show you guys how to start and operate it. First thing you want to do when you start your machine is, one, you want to make sure you have gas. So this guy here has 3/4 of a tank. Then you want to check the oil, and on this one here we have a dipstick on the side. We just want to take the dipstick out, wipe it off. Now I just serviced this machine, so it's going to be very clean oil. They have a full mark and an add mark. You just want to make sure it's at the full mark and don't overfill it. Now this one you have to screw it in, and it takes a little bit. You got to make sure you line up the threads perfectly. Screw it in tight, bring it back out. And you just want to make sure that that is right there on the upper mark, which is perfect. Make sure you snug that up. We're going to go over the controls here for starting. You have your throttle here, and you have stop, turtle, and then fast. I usually start about half speed, that's just my preference. You have a choke over here, and you have on and then off. So we're going to put the choke on. Now you do have a key here. This is like their ignition key. If you have a slot in your cover, but you're missing the key, it will not start. So you have to make sure that the key is in. So it starts, choke's on, half throttle. We're going to prime it 1-2 times. Sure. Take choke off. Now sometimes you have to prime them a little bit to keep them going. Okay, so what I was trying to say is sometimes you have to prime these a little bit as they're getting warmed up. This is a non-adjustable carburetor, and they need to warm up to actually run correctly. So you can either leave the choke on a little bit, or you can prime it while you're sitting here letting it warm up. If you rev it all the way up to fast, it's most likely going to hunt and surge until it warms up. We also have the electric starter button here, and that is a 3-prong extension cord. I recommend usually using a 14 or 16 gauge, something like this, and try not to go over 10 to 15 feet long, because if you hit these starter buttons for too long, with a very long, thin extension cord, you can burn up the starter, so be careful. And also, be careful, there is 3 prongs in here, and you have to make sure that you get it lined up right so you don't break them. And when you pull it out, kind of just be careful when you pull them out. All right, so we're going to go ahead and try this again with the electric starter. Halfway there. Choke on. I'm going to give it a crank. Then you just have to pull out the cord right here. Now also, make sure that you do not push the button for more than like 5 seconds at a time. You know, if it doesn't start up real quickly and real easily, you probably have an issue. You may have a fuel issue or something like that, but just make sure that you don't crank these too long. You can burn up the starters, and these cost a lot of money to replace. So coming up to your control center here, you have your transmission drive handle on this side, and it says drive, but it then says auger lock. Okay, so this is your transmission drive, but it's also a lock for your auger handle, which is this one here. And if you push down your auger handle on this side, it's going to not come back up again while you have your transmission drive down and you're going. That allows you to operate your machine with your other hand. I try to leave this handle down all the time to make sure that all the snow gets blown out of the snow thrower. If you leave this handle go up, and there's still snow in the front of your auger, it can't ice up, get clogged up, and then when you hit your auger, nothing comes out, and you're going to break your belt. So you have to be careful. So I highly recommend always leaving the auger handle down when you're blowing snow, and make sure that all the snow is evacuated out of the chute before you let up the handle, and you'll be good to go. Now this one here is your handle for your chute left and right and up and down. So you have to push the button in, and then it turns right, turns left, and you have the up and then down. Pretty straightforward. This is your transmission drive. It has 6 forward speeds and 2 reverse speeds. You should only move this drive handle when you don't have your handle on the drive itself, because if you have your handle on the drive, it's locked. because you're pushing a drive disc against a metal disc on the engine. So you have to change your speeds individually when you're not actually moving. So under here we have triggers, okay? The little flip paddle triggers. If you go to try to turn this thing left and right, okay, it's pretty hard, all right? Especially when there's no snow on the ground, it's very hard to steer. It's posi traction, so when you're going, it's gonna pull you straight. That's why they have both wheels posi traction, which means both wheels are actually going at the same time. To be able to turn it easier, they give you these triggers. Pull up on the trigger, you can easily turn the machine left and right. They have one on the other side. Now, obviously I'm not left-handed, but you can use the other one. It does the same thing. It unlocks one, unlocks the other one. Makes it very easy to turn. I've only ever used one, and I was able to turn every which way I wanted to go. When you go into the straight line again, let go of the trigger, and it'll give you posi traction, so it doesn't want to veer off to one side or the other. That's a very nice feature. Shear pin storage here. I'm going to go ahead and show you. There's one shear pin. We put an extra one for the gentleman. Okay, so down here, I just wanted to show you that the shear pin that I just showed you, there's one here. There's one here, one over here, and there's one here. Now that's 4 shear pins for all these augers. All these augers are designed to shear, the pins are designed to shear so you don't break your transmission right here. If any of these fail, you can actually have poor, throwing, and it's not doing very well. The first thing you want to check is just move your augers and make sure the shear pins aren't broken. If they spin freely, then you're going to have to get the new shear pin in there so everything's working as it should. Okay, so I highly recommend using a silicone spray. It doesn't matter what kind of silicone spray. It just shoot it up inside your augers, in and around your barrel here, and that'll help the snow from sticking, especially in wet conditions. Also up in your chute area, that'll also help. So definitely use silicone spray. You do have to reapply it every time that it snows. It's just very simple procedure to do to help the snow get through the machine and not clog your machine up. I also want to show you guys down here at the bottom skid plate. If you see my flashlight behind there and you see daylight right there, you're supposed to have an air gap in about 1/4 thickness. I've used a couple plates, but whatever you guys can use, you have to come around here. What you're going to do is these are your side skid shoes right here. You have to adjust these. That's why there's adjusters on these. You adjust these to your sheave plate, and that'll get you your thickness of about 1/4, and that'll keep the bottom skid plate, they call it a skid sheave, that'll actually stay in good condition. A lot of people want this skid sheave to be on the ground, so they raise these all the way up. And what that'll do is it ruins the sheave plate, and it also will eventually ruin the barrel. So that's why these skid shoes are there. They're there to keep the skid sheave plate from getting ruined. If you don't adjust these properly, and every now and then, you can do a lot of damage to your sheave, and you'll have to get it replaced. So this one here also has a headlight, and the headlight only runs if you don't have a switch, an on and off switch for your headlight anywhere on your controls right here, which this one does not. Okay, so if you don't have any switches on here, then this light will shine when your engine is running only. Looks like somebody had a sticker there. But if it doesn't light up when you're running the machine, then you have a bulb problem. So that pretty much sums it up for how to start and operate a yard machine, 10.5 horsepower, 28-inch path, 2-stage self-propelled snow thrower. If you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe. Share my channel with your friends, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.